Welcome to our happy hour talk. I'm going to give a couple of more minutes to those who are a little bit late and just connecting to attend the happy hour. We've got quite a good response. About almost 40 of you have actually signed up for today. Some of you will be here with us live. Some of you will watch this from our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking your time and joining us for the happy hour to learn something more about hospitality industry, the future, the coronavirus, and on all that in a little bit more lighthearted way. And as you are connecting slowly to join us for the happy hour, we are here with Eric Ricaurte, who is based in Singapore. I would like to welcome him with us. I hope you all grab your favorite drink. I've got mine here. I think Eric also has his somewhere on hand. So if you haven't done that yet, grab your drink, join us to learn something interesting about the industry and what's going on right now on the market. I'm also having a help here, my colleague Chao, who is at the back end, and he's going to be managing the chat. So if you have any issues, just feel free to ping Chao if you're not hearing us well or anything else. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to share that in the chat. Or any sort of comments or observations. We're very happy to hear from you as well. And I think we can slowly start. Seems like quite a lot of you have already connected. So let me start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Green Hospitality Happy Hour. My name is Lucia. I'm the program manager of Green Hospitality. We are a sustainability program of Soap Cycling, which is a charity here in Hong Kong. And we focus on collaboration across the supply chain in the hospitality industry. That includes hotels, but also airlines, F&B, and other related industries. One of our main activities is our annual conference. We did one last year in 2019. Our next one has been postponed to September. So if you don't have the tickets yet, please grab them as soon as possible. And we also do other events and activities focusing on some innovation. So through our hackathon, we're trying to look for different kind of solutions. We also have think tanks, so bringing together the experts, specifically in Hong Kong at the moment, to talk about different issues concerning the industry, such as plastic, food waste, green buildings, etc. All that information, of course, you can find also on our website, including our research reports that are about these different topics in the hospitality industry. And we also do online briefs about these different research reports. So please join us if you're interested. And moving on to our guest today. So as I mentioned, we have Eric Ricaurte here with us. I hope I'm pronouncing it well, but if not, Eric, please correct me.
No, but it happens all the time, don't worry.
Okay, so Eric, I would like to introduce Eric's background. So Eric is the founder of Greenview, which is international consultancy helping organizations catalyze innovation and best practices through strategy, programs, data management, benchmarking, and reporting. Greenview's clients include mostly larger hotel companies, as well as hotel owners and developers, event organizers, cruise lines, DMOs, OTAs, and industry organizations, including the WTTC and UNWTO. With 20 years of hands-on experience, Eric is a frequent speaker and convener and researcher of the topic of sustainability. And prior to founding Greenview, Eric specialized in the operations and development of nature-based lodges, theme parks, and attractions in Costa Rica, Mexico, and Brazil. Eric earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the Cornell University School of Hotel Administration and a Master of Science degree in Tourism and Travel Management from New York University. And his notable industry work includes launching the Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmarking Index, Green Lodging Trends Report, Destination Water Risk Index, and Hotel Owners for Tomorrow Coalition. We're going to share some of the links with you as well of these different initiatives that Eric is part of so that you can check them out later. Eric is also a member of the UFI Committee on Sustainable Development and the International Standards Working Group of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. He has held a research fellowship at the Cornell University Center for Hospitality Research and been an adjunct instructor at New York University. Wow, that was a long list. And Eric is obviously a fantastic speaker, very knowledgeable. So I'm very looking forward to this talk and to know what Eric thinks and how he has been working over the past couple of months during this pandemic and the crisis with the clients and with the ESG and sustainability in general. So, hi Eric, how is Singapore today?
Singapore is in phase one of post-circuit breaker, a nice, well-branded version of the lockdown, and we're all looking forward to things. Yeah, everything is on pace here.
So working from home.
Working from home, yes, definitely working from home, and not loving it, but working from home nonetheless.
Great. Well, so let's jump into some questions that I have prepared for you. So we've seen all this happening over the past couple of months, and hospitality and travel industry are definitely very much affected. We can see it across the world, not only here in Asia. What are the current sentiments of hotels when it comes to their sustainability efforts? As you work in Greenview with these different large organizations, is there any notion of slowing down these initiatives, or quite the opposite, maybe picking up on some of them?
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Yes, pleasure, everyone. Thanks for being here. And great group I see attending. As this is sort of a happy hour, I won't be too formal in the discussion, and hopefully we can have some chats as well. And we have some practitioners in the room. Looks like we have Jeannie from Hilton, we have Kunim from Centara, and it looks like we have Veronica from WWF and Grant dialing in at 5:45 in the morning from Columbus, Ohio, to represent hotel real estate private equity. Very
Drinking
good.
Early in the morning.
Yes, hopefully you're not drinking at this hour at you, but. So I mean, no, I mean, everybody's been affected, and obviously this is a crazy situation everybody's living in. And I think the biggest thing is we found it's all over the place. In the corporate and in sustainability in general for the hospitality industry, you have those who are furloughed, who are hit by the downturn and are waiting for recovery before they can even go back to work, and that's rough. I mean, it's rough for corporates, but it's also rough for the line level people who their livelihoods depend on this and are most vulnerable. And so we've seen that. And also we've seen, I mean, on the other hand, there are people working overtime now, having to handle all of the issues if it was in their purview around community, around links on sustainability with the social impacts of the team members and everything. And so, and then finally the just reopening and restructuring and all the issues involved with sanitizing, with procedures, with layouts and things. So it's been a crazy time. It's been a tough time, obviously. In the sustainability world, again, we've seen all over the place, depending on the type of business. Those who are in the distribution side of travel were hit the hardest, and that's the most asset light, most direct down revenue, and there's been, I think, almost total drop off of getting in sustainability. But for the hotels, the operators, and then you have the owners. And again, depending on the nature of the location of your hotel's portfolio, type of business, some are hit much harder than others, especially group business has been hit hard. And anyway, that's the conversation. There's plenty of that on the internet, but the point is that comes downwind to sustainability. Is those who are working and can progress are moving forward with things, and those who are needing to hold off because they have to take care of the first emergency are still on that. And so so what have we seen? We've seen some programs are on hold, some are moving forward, but a little more cautiously, because the sort of investor driven stuff doesn't stop, and it's only going to become more important. And then there's some hotels with people with a lot of time on their hands, for example, the engineering departments who are essential, they need to be there. But we've actually never seen property level engineering teams more responsive to the work we've done with hotel companies and needing data and information, because some do have time on their hands now that the crazy part is over, and there's just hotels open, operating at 8-10% occupancy, but having people on staff to service them. So in general, just it's been all over the place, but we haven't seen sustainability go away. There's a couple of pain points like single-use plastic and others, but overall, it's more a sentiment of some things are on hold more so than others, depending on the nature of the business and the company and location.
Right. Well, so some silver lining there with more responsive departments than before. So maybe even some work can be accomplished. I think we have the same kind of trend noticing in green hospitality when we really work many more hours than we were working before, because we have to, of course, reschedule the conference, do different stuff, engage differently with our stakeholders. So I believe that's everybody's kind of an issue right now, thinking and pivoting very quickly into the new normal, so to say. Right, so moving forward, besides the consultants that you do at Greenview, you also provide technology and a platform for hotels to improve on various aspects of ESG performance. Have you had to integrate new products or components that focus on mitigation of the current crisis? Maybe you can share a bit more about what you actually have in Greenview for those who don't know it yet.
Okay. Yeah, so Greenview, so we help hospitality, tourism companies with sustainability, corporate responsibility, the strategy, helping set strategy, top level governance, that kind of work, set the programs, help implement and structure programs specifically in certain areas where needed or linked into partners. We work with the managing data, help manage data, do data management, data reporting, targets, all that kind of thing, external reporting, a lot of work on carbon, the environmental stuff, but also social as more SDGs are coming in. And then we help with industry-wide benchmarking as we try to serve as this industry body that helps catalyze through giving more knowledge and awareness of data and using that to further the cause. And so we do a lot of benchmarking on energy, water, carbon, have the largest index on that together with Cornell. Do work in Asia with Horwath for about 2,000 hotels. We have our green lodging trends reports and other sort of industry convening. So that's runs the gamut, but essentially we're a sustainability consultancy at the company level that then goes sort of top down to help implement. What have we seen from us specifically? I think as mentioned before, the corporate reporting piece this year, some are taking a break, some are delaying a little bit, others are full force because they're using it as the opportunity to dig into it. The area we've actually seen the most, that hasn't dropped off as much is in the data side. And a lot more interest on the software side of that's one of these nice to haves that we've always wanted to get around to. How can we finally collect and manage data well across our portfolio at the property? And we've had a lot of interest in that, new actual interest in this time that people have downtime and they're saying, yes, that's a company or property solution I always needed to look into it. Now I'm looking into it. And so our Greenview portal software, that is a software intended to help hotel green teams manage, activate, learn more, and report on sustainability. Then it rolls up at the corporate level. So it solves all the corporate reporting needs and gives something that the hotels actually want to use. That's been our big focus. The other one then is we were set to launch, the name of the game in real estate was physical location risk and resiliency. The water risk, the climate risk, adaptation, things of flood, precipitation, temperature changes, water scarcity, all that kind of stuff. And we have products that we are set to launch actually to help hotels with that at critical times of hotel development, transaction, and doing that in partnership with Horwath HTL. So we haven't formally launched that, but that is the thing that actually will become more important as well as this issue of resiliency, of addressing risk and how it relates to the company and the widened scope of risks now comes to play after COVID. So that's what we've seen, and now that hotels are coming back, we're seeing more and more interest for that also. And I think that's, biggest thing, just to go on a little tandem here, is before COVID hit, our company had more than doubled in the last year, and the pipeline of business was incredible because you had this interest. Investors were coming down hard on companies to report, to measure, to address and mitigate their risks. Customers were now interested. The OTAs were getting involved. Big OTAs, other media companies, everybody wanting into sustainability. Customers, the whole plastic and the other issues were coming on board. And so we had so much more interest from companies saying that we need to do this now. And it wasn't just a company saying, okay, I need to do reports, I'm going to do a report. They were actually coming saying, I need a program, and what should we do about this? What do we actually do? And so it was more giving them and helping with solutions to really get the program going. And that all got sort of, the newer ones who were to it, some are saying, well, if I was going to start my program this year, I can wait a little bit to start. Those who are already in it, they're continuing, because once you start, you can't stop, and that's sort of the beauty of it. But we have seen much more just interest in actually getting things done, and people need tools and resources to do things rather than just create the overarching policy and report your information, but show you're making a difference.
Right. That's very interesting. And it's good to hear that there is such an uptake in these initiatives. I think from the last talk that we had with Sonali, which was more on the customer side, the things, they run the media platform about sustainable living and zero waste. So it's more targeting the, you and me and the customers essentially. So there has been a lot of uptake in the interest in topics such as sustainability or climate crisis or plant-based diet, etc. So seems like the lockdown is shifting people's mind a little bit as well, and I'll start thinking a bit more about these things, have more time, not being so busy, lounging around for the happy hour. And hopefully it's going to continue also as we open the economies a bit more and return to the offices. Yeah. Well, in the time of the recovery, we might have this constraint, and you already touched upon that, of the financial resources, like how to prioritize. We have to focus on the recovery in the business right now. Do we put the same amount of money into the ESG and the sustainability efforts, or do we actually reallocate these budgets to support the business? But I think it's kind of clear what you mentioned, that those who've been committed, obviously they might be waiting a little bit, but they're still committed to do so. What do you think is the likely scenario though? Like, do you think those who have been maybe just considering and not yet there are going to still hold off, or do you think that regardless of the crisis, we're gonna see the uptake?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of budgets need to be cut, and so where people can cut money from the budget and trim, they're going to. That's clear. And so, yes, I had this bell and whistle of doing this extra work. I want to get my data verified, something like that, but maybe I'm holding off. So we are saying that, but people need money also. There's a lot of distress going on, liquidity issues, and so there's these kind of things that are happening, and sustainability, just the old school, what everybody's been hammering for 20 years, is this can help your bottom line. If you can make an investment in energy efficiency, investment in water, you can you can look now and what can you take advantage of this to reduce some of your purchasing, to reduce your waste, that kind of thing. So there is there's opportunities to reduce, and as we look into budgets for 2021, which are going to be a little bit interesting, where you can invest money to have, because energy and water, that's going to be number one on your bottom line, number two after your labor. So the sort of cost saving measures are going to be more interesting. Access to capital, I think that the green finance world, and obviously everybody loves to make these parallels to what's COVID and what can we do afterward. But I think this is an interesting one of green finance. This is the United States one, but you had this paycheck program where you could go get loans from the government, and when hotel owners started getting that money, they got some serious flack for it wasn't intended for you, it was intended for smaller businesses. But on the other side, there's something called PACE funding, which is money that you can obtain, funding for energy efficiency, for renewables, and there's that kind of sustainability-backed loan structure that's out there, the green bonds at the corporate level. There's other things even at smaller levels, but the idea that there is money tied to investment or that will improve environmental efficiency, improve renewables, that kind of thing. And so I think there's going to be more appetite as more people need to look for sources of capital. And there's a lot out there. IFC is doing something with UNWTO right now on this, and they got it. They're clear on this, on the green finance piece. There's more and more coming out. So I think that people need money. People are going to hold off on investing where they can. People still need money, and where sustainability can be an avenue for that, we're going to see more of that, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Thanks for introducing a few of those initiatives and then the green finance topics to us, because I think that potentially could be another topic that we're going to dig into in the near future as we're returning to the normal. Well, I've got last question before we actually go into the questions from our audience. So if anybody on the call has any questions for Eric, you can feel free to already put them in the chat, and Charles is going to help out to to capture them. So feel free just to share in the chat whenever you want any of your insights. So my last question for you, Eric, is what opportunities do you foresee in the post-COVID business environment? So we touched upon already the green finance and the things will move on, but maybe from your personal perspective, or maybe for your own business, if you want to share, if you can share, what do you think are the opportunities for you, or what's going to expand more than it was before the COVID situation?
Yeah. Well, there's so much now in the hygiene and safety, that kind of stuff. We haven't got into it. We've been actually kind of silent on the whole, in general, we've been silent, we think that there's been plenty of that, and everybody, there's even a good hospitality net panel on hygiene and sustainability, and there's lots of activity going on there. We purposely, I'm not getting involved because that's something that everybody's getting involved in and needs to, and that's not our niche. And as things become more specialized, we're sticking to our guns. And again, we think more data, more risk management tools, and where those fit in are going to be important, and we're going to go on that. Another thing, just since this is a happy hour, this is more of a happy hour talk. Actually, I want to open my beer right now to talk about this. But let's be real. This is a chance to be real, because for so many years we've had to push the business case for sustainability. We've had to push the investor side, the risk, all this kind of stuff. And that was what got us our business, was the reaction and companies needing to address it. But what happened before was, no, you should care because the planet and because the definition of sustainable development, right? Back in the day, Brundtland, development that meets the needs of the present generation without sacrificing the future, the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, right? That was back in '87 that came out, right? I got a 2-year-old just running around every day, nonstop, every single day. And it's just my wife, who's my business partner, and my 2-year-old here at home, right? Can't have any help over, can't have anything. Extreme case, but those who can work from home, if you look at all those charts and the disadvantage and who's impacted more, the senior executives or the executives are the people who can work from home tend to be the decision makers in the world. And so how many decision makers have been stuck at home with their children in these last 2 months? And what am I thinking, right? And it's not psychological with a 2-year-old as it is for a teenager, someone graduating, someone in junior high, but the message is, what future do I want for my child, and what future is my child going to grow up in? And what's out there right now? How are we going to explain to him? How do you explain the masks? How do you explain how you can't go to the playground that you can see right there? And you think about this is all the other problems, and you think, well, what happened? What was the cause of it? Well, humans were eating this or what, but then imagine all the different disasters, and it's like, what have we caused, or what are we doing? And so Sustainable Brands actually had this sort of message of CEOs with their kids or whatever, but it's more, hopefully people are now rethinking that this really is about our future and our children. And I think an appeal to your children, to the future, will actually resonate better, because it will be hit home literally much harder than before. Use that angle, and that angle should be important. We should be doing this for our children, because honestly, I don't want to be stuck with my kid at home for much longer, and looking forward to Monday when preschool opens back up. But that's the realness of this, is it hopefully is focused and made a lot of introspection. And my hope as an optimist is that people will come out of this saying, yes, I want to make things better, because my children have to inherit this. The risk modeling we do for 2060, 2080, I'll be gone by then, but my son won't. He'll be here, and be in his prime. So anyway, that's my my final thought for that, before others would like to comment.
Thank you for the sharing. We had something very similar from Sonali last week, and she also has a small kid, and so she reflected quite similarly that seeing the children and having actually your own children will make you think much more about all these issues and topics. And as you spend a lot of time with them, as you said, like in the confinement right now at home, might actually really resonate with you much more than before, when you spend most of your time in the office and you don't really get to speak to your children and don't have to really deal with these tough questions. Great, thank you. So we have a question from Brian King. Thank you, Brian, for joining us today. So I'm going to read it out loud here. Hi, Eric. Have you had the chance to observe whether the training and development sections of bigger hospitality organizations are reviewing their approaches to a productive, effective workforce? If so, is there a growing role of green issues and sustainability targets?
Interesting. So I can't comment too much on training development. We haven't been involved in that yet. We haven't really been touched. That linkage hasn't been up to the work we do. The only thing I can say is, around this time, as everybody's getting into plastic, getting into procurement, food waste, all these things, it is interesting because there was a greater need for just understanding and awareness of the topic of sustainability at the property level and company level to certain aspects. So just the understanding of the issues has been growing. And so getting the workforce to really understand the basics of sustainability, why it's important to reduce plastic, why is it important to reduce food waste. We did see that coming into play because you have to, who's going to make the operational change, who's going to get it done, and how do you change their minds, their attitudes, and their behaviors. And so we did see that needing, which I think was a little overlooked. And now, hopefully, that will not go away either.
Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have other questions from our audience? You're welcome to ask anything from Eric right now. Well, if there is anything, of course, that you're interested in. Otherwise, obviously, you can always check out the website of Greenview, doing fantastic things. We've shared a few links with you as well here in the chat, and we're going to distribute them after the call to all of those who sign up for the session today. So the links to the Hotel Coalition that you have founded or co-founded, right, Eric? Yep. And the other initiatives, some of your reports, benchmarking reports in the UNWTO library, and the hotel footprinting tool. I'm actually quite interested in the hotel footprinting tool. Maybe you can introduce us a little bit to that.
Hotel footprinting tool, yes. So we have the sort of academic, we have the research on the benchmarking of energy, water, carbon. But what we realized is we needed to translate that to the wider travel audience, because the original premise, and when we started this way back, was you can get your carbon footprint and offset it for an airplane. And that was going on when we first started Greenview. That was how we started actually with that premise. This is 2007, 8, and it was all the sort of carbon offsetting was coming into its heyday. And you can see that for airlines, even rail, but there was no hotel mechanism, and it's because it's more complex. So after all these years, we finally have industry data and benchmarking and numbers on footprint of hotels for room nights and for meeting space use. And so we realized that we need to translate that and give it to the industry. So the hotel footprinting tool was intended then as that measure, so that you can go in and say, what's the footprint of a 5-star hotel in Hong Kong, a full-service hotel in Hong Kong on average. Then you can use that for your carbon footprinting of business travel. You can use that for carbon offsetting. We can work with offsetters and be that data source. For various reasons, we had that there, and we actually are just set to announce, you've heard it here first, probably by next week, we'll have the 2.0 out, which completely revamps it. We've taken it so you can actually do it by number of stars in a hotel instead of the STR internal category. It's only carbon footprinting. We're not confusing the benchmarking. And that's really for somebody to go and find out what is the carbon footprint of my travel. And we had so much interest in that over the past year with companies, offsetter providers, other systems providers saying, we want to find a data source for the carbon footprint of a hotel night. Where can we go? And they come to the footprinting tool. So we'll be doing a bigger push on that. And it's, again, meant to give this to the wider hotel industry. And it's made possible because of all of the participants in our benchmarking, from the big chains like Hilton, IHG, Marriott, Hyatt, Wyndham, to the smaller to their owners, to the smaller chains who add a lot of data, to Horwath as well, who feeds in a lot from Asia. And it's that collaborative effort that's made that possible. So look for more of that, to where you can go and find and then see the differences. Why is it that the average hotel footprint in for example, Kuala Lumpur is much higher than in Singapore for a similar hotel, that kind of thing. So that's what that is.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely check it out and share it with our networks. We've got another question here from Monica, who is on the call with us. And so she's asking an advice for fresh graduates who are interested in sustainable tourism and sustainability in general. Not a lot of hospitality companies or tourism consultants are hiring, and essentially they have no practical experience or skills for months after the graduation. I see many of my friends with great potential in the industry turn their backs and jump into another because of the current pandemic. I personally do not know how longer I should be waiting for the industry to rebound in this uncertainty. Do you have any views on that? What would you suggest to the fresh grads right now?
Yeah, that's a tough one. My heart goes out to everybody who's just now looking to get into the industry because not only are people not hiring, you have a bigger pool of people who've been laid off looking to take jobs as well. So not gonna lie, it's a tough time. And I think that the situation now it's so uncertain, and that's, I mean, us in terms of our hiring decisions and what we're doing, that's the problem, right? It is uncertain for the next year. We don't know what's going to come out, and the other things that unfold, unfortunately, are the tough ones for us. For me, it's more, okay, we have got the COVID, and then what happens if there's a second wave? What happens? It deeply impacts our customers, and then you have rioting going on in different places. Then in Singapore now we have the worst dengue outbreak in history, I think. So there's just so much uncertainty going on, and it is tough, and it's mentally challenging for everyone, especially if you're looking for work. I get it. So advice, what can you do? I think, yes, free internships, and people don't necessarily want to get free internships either because it's even more difficult. I still think never stop learning. There's plenty more that you can educate yourself on that will be necessary and needed going forward, because things keep expanding. If you're more well versed in some of the current topics, because the current workforce, there's sort of everybody's figuring out a way to recover and this and that, but there are some who could come out and say, yes, I understand completely the way guidelines go for safe distancing, for hygiene, for everything. I understand from A to Z. Oh, you want to take back up that plastic? I understand, all the different types of plastic, the pros, the cons, the waste infrastructure issues. I think that the more knowledge you can get, the better. And then just be creative in where you're looking for work also, because hospitality, there's so many parallels, and there are companies, there are places that are hiring. I mean, pick on Jeannie from Hilton. I mean, she has a healthcare background, and there's huge linkages between healthcare and hospitality, and they're going to grow even further. The real estate aspect, the space aspect, there's a lot of different places. So don't think that if you go outside of hospitality right now, that you can't get back in. And maybe it is better to look outside the hospitality, show how your skills apply. The service, the issue of service, the issue of understanding quality service and guest experience and other things definitely applies a lot more. It's undersold and undervalued in other industries. And you can always jump back in later. That would be my one, is just expand the search, and the time will come for hospitality tourism, but not going to lie, it's going to be rough for 2020, definitely.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing on that. And we've got another question from Andrew. Hi, Eric. Do you think consumers will be more interested in sustainability issues going forward and look for companies, hotels, resorts that provide or are actively engaged in such activities?
Great question. So I don't think that coming out of this, people are going to say, I care less about the planet and its people. I think at whatever level there is a deeper concern for some of the reasons I said. Will customers care more? Again, my pet peeve about this question in general was always we segment the hell out of the customer in this industry for whatever reason, right? We hyper customize the segment. Then when it comes to sustainability, we put them all in one bucket. Do they care? Yes or no? I still think there's a whole gamut of, there's customers who care. There's the business travelers who care. There's the people on one spectrum. There's people who don't care at all. And are you really going to try to convince them? But overall, I do think people will care more. The other issue is care about what? Do I care if there's a green label on the hotel? I'm still not convinced. Do I care about plastic? There's increased sentiment on that. Do I care about having vegan, vegetarian menus? Do I care about how the hotel is treating its people? On the ESG side, that's been the big buzz about how the hotel, not the hotels, but outside the industry. There we go, Gina. Yes, outside the hotel industry. So what was I talking about here? So, sorry. What was the question? Sorry, I swear I haven't had many drinks, but Jeannie threw me off there with thinking about healthcare.
It's about the whether the customers will want more sustainable practices.
Yeah. So I think, that's the thing, is that do I care more about certain things? Yes. And it was the ESG rant that companies who outside the industry in general who are showing that they care more about their employees are faring better. Maybe there's causality, not correlation, or vice versa, but that's one of the things that customers may now care about more. Everybody, looking under the belly now about where construction workers and how they're treated and where labor comes from, it could be that there's more sentiment and there's more caring about people. So it is possible, but again, everything is uncertain at this point.
Right. Well, do we have any more questions? Or if not, then I think we can leave everybody to their drink. We can have the last cheer before we wrap up. But of course, if there's any more questions, we welcome them right now. Yeah, here is a question. Eric, with your knowledge, possible to share any tangible example how hotels use data collected to make changes for sustainability?
Yeah, well, thank you, Shell. And so that wasn't pre-scripted, everybody, but that is one of the best talking points we use is, what we tell, the industry travelers in general. Whenever I'm talking to somebody who's coming to work or we're going to work with, I say, did you go on a trip? And where was the last trip you went? How did you book? And where did you go? What hotel did you choose? And how did you do it? Well, I looked online. And then what influenced your decision? Location, price, this one had a good fitness center. So this idea of comparing yourself or comparing hotels, airplanes, destinations, that's the industry of today. That's what it is. And hotels the same, right? A hotel cannot actually know its performance, whether it's doing well in occupancy and rates, unless it compares against its peers. Otherwise, if I'm doing 8% occupancy right now, my neighbors are doing 9%, it's okay. But if I'm at 8 and they're at 50, then something's wrong. And so this peer comparison is the psyche of the industry. And that's what we've been trying to do, is embed sustainability in the psyche. So our Green Lodging Trends Report is probably the best example, where we said, fill out a survey of 100 best practices. And then give them a benchmark report back that's very binary. That says, you're not doing this, but most of your market is. So that then turns on a light bulb, well, maybe we should be doing this. And so we try to build that evidence based on the numbers and then move it over time, because it's a moving target. So if you think about the Linden Toweries program, pretty much everybody would have one, but it took years before it became mainstream. So we try to find what are the things that are happening right now and then catalyze and get it going. So awareness, what are your peers doing? What down the hotel, best practices around the world? Once hotels and hotel practitioners will know that, they sort of have that psyche to move along in that herd. And so if we can leverage that for a positive way, then it makes a difference and make the business case to those who make decisions on investment and other things.
Great insight. Thank you so much.
That was an easier question than the last one. Don't lose my train of thought on that one.
Right. Well, if there are any more questions, obviously, we're going to be happy to receive them. Or if you have any further questions that Chow has captured and we don't see them here, we're going to forward them to Eric. Hopefully we can answer them later on if need be. But I think we can wrap up because it's 6:10, and I think, oh, wait, do we have one more? So last one before we wrap up, from Grant. Hi, Eric, any evidence you're seeing of smaller nimble brands or independent hotels positioning themselves to take advantage of incoming opportunities to appeal to guests despite lacking the scale and liquidity of larger brands?
Great question, Grant. I always argue actually that if you're a smaller hotel or independent or a smaller chain, maybe you're not as well capitalized, but you have the opportunity to make incremental changes and try things out. That's what we found is, brand standards, top-down changes and that kind of thing are actually sometimes more difficult than bigger hotel companies, unless it's, they can give the skill and they can give the push, but there are opportunities to sort of try things out. And so I think that in this case, the biggest thing that people have always been worried about is, I don't want to mess with the guest. But I don't want to impact the guest experience. That's where the linen towel thing, which I still think is pretty ridiculous, because I've never seen data that the guest actually cares if they're linens and towels, bed linens. I've never seen any research saying the guest actually cares and expects their linens to be changed every day. It was just the practice in the industry. So if anybody has a study, please let me know. But we're still like, oh, I'm going to impact the guest, and I want them to, I don't want to impact them negatively, right? Nobody seemed to care when they took away the chocolates on the pillows, right? So that's a tangent, but I think the point is that now is the time and smaller hotels can do this better, is why don't I test something out and see if the guest cares or not? See if the guest is impacted in terms of the amenities, in terms of the messaging, in terms of the experience, who I partner with, what I offer them. For example, this is Xavier Font from Surrey who said this one, which is, why not, if you're gonna have a meeting, why not have vegetarian be the default and make them request meat? Something like that. Like you can try things out and not be as worried about the guest experience, because and even let them know, hey, we're testing this out. We would like your feedback, that kind of thing. I think that's just in general is an overarching way that smaller hotels can and chains independents can look at it.
Thank you. So that was the last one for today. I think we all should already go and unwind after work. Thank you so much, Eric, for being here with us today and to share your experience and your insights. We're going to publish this talk on our YouTube channel, so it will be accessible for viewing for anybody who has signed up today. We've got over almost 40 participants. Of course, feel free to share. And of course, check Greenview website and all the reports and fantastic work that Eric has been doing. And lastly, obviously, do check out also the activities of the Green Hospitality. And you can subscribe to our newsletter to get notified about the events such as this one or other ones and other activities that we do. And you're all welcome in our conference in September, those of you who can travel, and those of you who are in Hong Kong, very much welcome on the 24th of September to meet the other speakers and leaders in the industry who are going to convene here in Hong Kong to discuss some of the topics of waste management and waste issues in the industry. So thank you very much, Eric, for joining us today. Hopefully we're going to see you soon in person in Hong Kong or in Singapore or somewhere else in the world.
Yes.
And well, cheers. Have a good evening, everyone. Grab your drinks and have fun.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you hopefully soon, somewhere.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.